Welcome to The Insider. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe, like, share, comment and click on the notification bell for latest football news vibes. Chelsea will be much more confident of winning the Carabao Cup final after their recent performances. They got a deserved point against Manchester City last time out, and that followed two impressive results versus Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. Manager Mauricio Pochettino will therefore be hoping to see a better display from his players at Wembley than the one he saw at Anfield a few weeks ago. The Blues boss will, of course, need a strong tactical plan to beat the current league leaders. Press the next page as we explain what Pochettino's side must do if they are to come out on top this weekend. A high press will pay dividends. While sitting deeper against Manchester City worked well, Liverpool are a different proposition. Their defense is much more vulnerable when they lose the ball higher up the pitch. Klopp's team leave large gaps that can be exploited if possession is lost in their own half. Their centre-backs split and their full-backs tend to push up or move infield to invert. Pressing the holding midfielder, whether it is Wataru Endo or Alexis Mac Allister, into making mistakes is the main priority. If they can do that, Chelsea's forwards could potentially have 3-on-2 or even 4-on-2 situations. Quick counter-attacks. This ploy goes hand in hand with the high press. If the Blues do win the ball high up, they have to take advantage. There is no point in regaining possession and then passing the ball backwards as the opportunity to score will be lost. As we saw in the first half against Crystal Palace, Chelsea's players can slip into a mode where they simply keep the ball and not do anything with it. However, if they counter-attack with pace and purpose as they did versus City, it can lead to chances being created. Get the most out of Palmer. Despite arguably being Chelsea's player of the season so far, the attacking midfielder has struggled to make an impact over the last few games. Pochettino's decision to play Palmer as the false nine hasn't paid off, and we only saw the best of him when he was switched out wide against Palace, getting 2 assists. The 21-year-old did start on the right flank versus City, and he was effective when he got into pockets between the lines. It is a ploy he will need to replicate against Liverpool. Andy Robertson is unlikely to track him into central areas, so that is something that the Blues can exploit. A push Chilwell high up the pitch. Due to how Liverpool set up their team, their right-hand side is generally more vulnerable than their left. When Arsenal beat the Reds in the 3-1 win at the Emirates a couple of weeks ago, they focused a lot of their attacks down one flank, with Gabriel Martinelli getting a lot of joy. There is one slight difference in the fact that Conor Bradley will be starting instead of the injured Trent Alexander-Arnold at Wembley. However, if Ben Chilwell can get forward as often as possible to create overloads, it will cause problems for the inexperienced Bradley. It may also force Mo Salah into tracking back and negating his influence further up the pitch. There have been plenty of impressive performances in the Premier League this year, from Crystal Palace's win at Old Trafford to Arsenal's hammering of West Ham United. Still, there is an argument that Chelsea's draw away to Manchester City over the weekend is just as impressive as any. Mauricio Pochettino's side managed to go to the home of the treble winners and come away with a point it nobody saw coming, and it could have been 3 had their front line been more clinical. It would appear as if the Argentine is finally starting to get a tune out of his inexperienced but talented squad. However, there will always be questions about the club's recruitment policy, especially after they released so many of their own gifted youngsters in the past, such as Declan Rice. That said, while allowing the Englishman to leave will always haunt the pensioners, another rising star who looks destined to reach the very top of the game was released by the club as a teenager. Now, there are plenty of examples of former Chelsea prospects who have been released and gone on to do great things in the game, such as the aforementioned Rice and Jamal Musiala, but the decision to release Michael Olise as a youngster could rank as one of the pensioners' worst. Yes, The Blues did, in fact, have the talented Frenchman on their books for 7 years when he joined from cross-city rivals Arsenal in July 2009 before leaving in July 2016. A few weeks of playing in City's youth teams would follow, but the dynamic attacker would eventually spend 6 months without a club before finally signing for Reading, following several showcase events. One of the men who ran these events was Sean Conlon, who had known All Eyes for years, and he claimed that the scouts at these events were in disbelief about how good Michael was, which, considering his performances for Palace, isn't hard to believe. In 2.5 seasons of senior football for the Royals, he scored 7 goals and provided 14 assists. He also won the EFL Young Player of the Season award for the 2020-21 campaign. Just a couple of months later, he was snapped up by the Eagles for around £8 million in what now looks like one of the best transfers completed by a Premier League side in recent years. Michael Allies has performed for Crystal Palace since on 11 September 2021 and has been a terrifying defender ever since. In that first season for the Eagles, the superb dynamo, as described by talent scout Jacek Kulig, scored 4 goals and provided 8 assists in just 31 appearances. His goalscoring took a hit the following year, but his creativity flourished, and he ended the campaign with 2 goals and 11 assists to his name in 40 appearances. Unfortunately, the 22-year-old has been blighted by injury this season, but even so, he has managed a seriously impressive 6 goals and 3 assists in 11 appearances for the South Londoners. This impressive form led to plenty of speculation and rumors about a possible move to Chelsea or City in the summer, with the Blues reportedly activating a release clause in his contract. However, instead of leaving, All Eyes opted to sign a new deal at Selhurst Park, which Steve Kay of Football Transfer reported last month could include a release clause worth £60 million, meaning that releasing All Eyes as a youngster could prove costly for the Blues should they go back in for him in the summer. Related, the ice-cold gem has an incredibly bright future ahead, having left the Blues academy in the past. Ultimately, things are looking up for Pochettino's young team, but the Argentine would have surely loved to have a player of All Eyes' quality in his squad. Thanks for watching this awesome video.